Okay, it is Tuesday, June 16th at 11:56 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. This is the ANA NLCC team meeting with the NLCC TTA Center. The meeting is slated to begin at noon Pacific Time, so you'll hear some chatter until the meeting actually gets underway. All right. I'm going to stop sharing my video so I can take a bite of my sandwich.
Can't start the instant session. I'm gonna jump off and then I'm gonna jump right back on. So I'll be right back.
Hi, Mia. I see that here, and there's Tracy. Looks like we're getting people to join.
And now it's showing me Brandon Smith 2 and Brandon Smith 3.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
you've been cloned 3 times and as Brandon. That's amazing.
Yeah, for some reason it has that first Brandon Smith in there.
Is that because of the VM that you're doing?
No, the VM is completely unrelated.
Hmm.
But I did change my name, and Brandon is in here at the moment.
Oh,
Oh, sounds like someone has their speakers open.
I think it's Cree. She's making her microphone's making funny noises. There she goes. She just muted herself.
Okay. Yeah, Kree, are you on a headset or are you on speakers?
This is Rosia. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Rosia, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm gonna mute myself.
Okay.
I am, I had it on the regular once I signed in, but I have my headset. Um, I don't know how well you're going to be able to hear me on my
You're
audio through
really
my
fine.
computer. How do I sound?
You're very, very loud.
Okay. Is
Sorry,
there
no,
any kind of static or?
there's no static,
I think
but if you go
speak
to
again, Cree.
And Cree, you sounded pretty good on my
Can you
side.
hear me okay?
Yeah, I think yours sounds loud and
Oh,
mine.
okay. I'll
Yeah,
try
it's a
to
little
talk
harder to hear you,
softly.
Rosia. Okay.
Okay.
So Maria, I did create a couple of different layouts here. You'll notice
Okay.
there's a presentation one. That is the PDF for the site visit, I believe.
Oh, okay.
The PDF that was provided. And
Right.
then, I'm sorry, the layout that says on-site. And then the one that says presentation is just a different version of this screen that I'll show you real quick.
Oh,
Just
so we can all see each
enlarges
other better.
Exactly.
Okay, great.
But for now, I'll take it back to the lobby so that we have those instructions for the using cameras. And then I'm going to go ahead and
Right. I think Brent must be on the road or something. Mia, do you want me to make you a presenter? So
I can't tell who's on here.
You don't have access. Let me put Mickey as a presenter so you can see who's here, okay?
I mean, unless they're on the webcam, I can see the people on the webcam.
All right, I made you a presenter. I don't know if you can see what the host can see, which is a list of the people who've joined us. And then I hear some background again. Do you want this screenshot, Mia, or would you prefer this one where you can see everybody like this?
I guess I can see that way.
Is it just
Because I have.
Hello.
Hey, Brent?
Can folks hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Rosia, you're on the headphones and it does not sound very good.
Okay, I can hear you really good though, but it's super loud. Let me try to figure something else.
Okay, Brent, are you facilitating this or am I?
All right. So, does it look like everyone on the call, or is there anyone we're missing?
Well, that's the first item on the agenda is the roll call. So I'll do that portion. For A&A, we got Mia. Mark is not here. Rosia is here. Ty is not here. Jill is here. Mary's here. And Brent Huggins. Does someone want to send a jabber message to Ty to see if she's going to join us from A&A? So for NLCC, we have Cree, Tracy, and I don't think we have Taylor, and we have Maria, and I don't think Marina is on the line. And we have, looks like, thought I saw Gary Best there for a minute. But he's not there anymore. So I'm gonna.
All right. Is there anyone else we missed?
No, I went through the list.
Okay. If not, okay. Thank you, Mia. So now I was hoping we could kind of talk about the site visit report about Anna Nakota. So maybe Cree, you could tell us about that. Can folks hear Cree?
Cree, you're still muted. Can you hear it? She's missing big. Okay, big hard type audio. She can't hear anymore. Okay, so why don't I go ahead and let me send her a little message here. I think what's happening with Cree is because she's in such a remote location, she can't access the audio and the video at the same time. So maybe if she shuts down her camera. Do you think that'll help, Tom, if we have her shut down her camera?
Yes, possibly.
Or Brandon? Yeah. Okay.
Am I causing problems?
That's why we have the call-in, because Cree lives in such a remote location. She doesn't have broad bandwidth. And that's the same thing with some of our other grantees, is they don't have broad enough bandwidth to manage both the web as well as the audio on the same bandwidth piece. She can kind of hear, but it keeps going in and out. So she took her camera off.
I guess I'm not enough familiar with why with Adobe Connect there's a separation between the online audio and then calling in.
Brandon or Tom, can you answer to that?
I mean, almost every other platform we use has options, but at least if you're logging in, you can also listen to the audio.
Right, and this account does, it has an option for audio over the web or audio over the phone, but there's a different account type for doing both at the same time, which we need to switch that over to, I think. You get obviously you get a more solid connection if you're just doing audio over the phone. Clearly we're having some bandwidth issues with people in remote areas. They won't be able to have audio. Excuse me, I turned the video streaming buffer down just a little bit to see if maybe that would help people who are in remote areas if they're having any issues. That might give a little bit audio quality.
Okay.
Experience the same problem over different platforms, you know, depending on what the strength of your internet connection is.
Looks like Jim joined us. Hi, Jim.
And Cree was asking the question, how come we couldn't use a phone line? So.
Yeah. So,
I guess we've all, so the site visit form went to everyone today, if you didn't get it last week. And so, Mary, this is your grantee. Did you read over the site visit report and do you have any questions? Or does anybody else on the NLCC team have questions from A&A?
So I haven't, I've looked at it, but just briefly. Hang on, let me pull it up so I can see the bottom part. Oh, good, thanks. Yeah, I don't think I had any questions right now.
Anyone else from the A&A NLCC team?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, no, I didn't have any questions or reports about the Anina Coda grantee report.
I guess can we talk more about the Head Start teachers who are working with Xavier, even though they're not taking the college level courses?
We can go ahead with your questions or thoughts.
Or, I mean, I'm just wondering, is that a better use of time going forward? Is sort of informal learning with the Head Start teachers? Or is it still, do we still want to, I guess, expect from them that the Head Start teachers take the college level courses?
I don't want to lower it at all. They need, so the ultimate goal is to get the teachers trained. I think Cree's visit, even though it was virtual, gave them better appreciation for actually taking the training. It seemed like the meetings or visit she was able to have with them actually got them more engaged. And Cree also shared with us the YouTube video of that training session, so I haven't had a chance to look at it. I asked if it was 508 compliant, and she was going to check to see if it was, so that we could then maybe potentially put it on the ANA page, but I'm imagining it's already on the NLCC website. Is that correct, Maria?
So, but we did check on the 508 about that because we don't have that. I want to talk to them about the budget and how we can go ahead and make that 508 compliant, and then share it with you guys to put on your ANA website as well. So that's something I'm talking to Mark about on Thursday. Because it needs to be closed captioned to be 508 compliant.
Correct.
This is Brent. And, I was just wondering, looking at the site visit report, it did mention that this it seems like the grantee is considered high risk. So, what can we do to lower their risk? Also, it looks like, unfortunately, they weren't able to do certain language assessments and things due to the pandemic. So, is there a plan or a potential plan to assess students whenever they get back in the fall? Or, I don't know if there's a virtual assessment or something. That might not be realistic, I'm not sure.
So I thought the assessments were going to be done in the beginning of the school year and towards the end of the school year to see if the fluency levels changed. That's my recollection of the project. So that's probably what she meant by they're not able to do the end of year assessments. But I agree. Is there a plan?
Is it possible for the students that were assessed last year in the fall to be assessed this upcoming year in the fall, at least for their last year? I don't know. Or if there's another way, because I don't know what their assessment is, if they utilize elders, or if they've done any type of video recordings to assess students, maybe midpoint. I thought we suggest people assess also around the midpoint of each year. maybe we didn't, maybe they haven't been doing that, or maybe they didn't.
What I understand
Is Cree on the line?
she's not able to participate because she can't hear and she can't speak. So, what we can, um, what you're talking about is right. They didn't get a chance to do any end of school year assessments because of the pandemic. And I know that they were planning, are in the process of planning to how to open up the school in August, but they're not sure if they'll be able to yet. So right now they're just kind of stuck trying to figure out what's going on. He has to submit a plan to the tribe on how the school is going to be opened and how the kids are going to be taken care of before they can even consider opening the school for fall. So the tribe has pretty much shut down the whole entire reservation and not allowing people to move outside the reservation, or they have pretty strict shelter-in-place rules going on. Most of the Montana tribes do now. So I think.
Yeah, but they're within the reservation. Are they doing? Have they been able to continue anything virtually? I know he said they were sending packets home.
Yeah, they're doing their packets by paper. Not a lot of people have access to internet. That's how come they were coming to the college in the first place. A lot of them don't have the equipment either to access through internet. They might be able to do a assessment over the phone, but I haven't seen their assessments done. Jim, do you know if that's possible? That's something we can recommend, to do a telephonic assessment rather than a paper assessment or a face-to-face? Don't forget to unmute. Jim, can you hear me?
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. So did you hear my
Okay.
question?
I did, a little warbly, I think. I don't.
Depend on what age.
Go ahead, Brent.
Oh, I was gonna say it might depend on the age. I can't remember if these are only Head Start folks, or like if there are also some students that are older. I don't know that like Head Start students very easily would understand an assessment over the phone. But like maybe older students might.
Yeah, my recollection. I mean, of the meetings, I don't think they have thought that far out yet. So looking at different ways of doing it, the assessments. But again, I think what Maria said is that a lot of folks don't have connectivity and things, so might be a hard thing to do.
Okay. Cree said if you want to ask her questions in the chat, she can ask them back, answer back in the chat. But she's catching bits and pieces of the audio right now. But I haven't been able to hear her. I'm just going to try and unmute.
But did you say
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Go ahead, Cree.
So if you guys can hear me okay, I can respond to questions. I'm just getting I'll get bits and pieces and then it'll cut out. But if you can hear me, then you can ask and then I can respond. So the one thing that I asked, the hard part with the risk that they have is that it's with like their partners, like Head Start and the Language Coalition. So at one point, I even took the initiative to try to like email like Head Start people that I thought could help them. And that was even for me trying to like kind of cold call or email people. I really didn't get a response back. I've been really trying to help figure out how to address these issues, and it comes down to what I found out on the call is that the Head Start leadership is not, I just don't know if like there's just been so much turnover that they just don't realize, because I know that now the tribal leadership that they have in Head Start is not the same as it's been. And even when we went on site visit last year, the guy that we were able to talk to, that was head of Head Start, he was like walking out the door. So, I mean, this was kind of one of the ways that we were trying to mitigate this and to put it on the radar to Head Start that um, that they're part of the grant, right? And so hopefully, now that even I know, this is the first time that I even got to talk to and even hear the name of who the Head Start person was. I believe she said her name was like Twyla or something, or I can't remember her name, but now at least I can try to facilitate that discussion between the two. If I can get a hold of her email and see how we can go from there in initiating some discussion, because I really don't think that she even knows uh, that they're supposed to be a part of this. So, and that's been, something that we've been trying to figure out forever too, is like, who's the Head Start person to even talk to? And I know at some points I've asked that of Sean and Sarah, and they're like, we don't really know who to talk to. And so, but anyways, so another strategy that we were talking about is getting the Language Coalition to develop a strategic plan as sort of like a way to funnel some of their where they're going. And so I think there was even talks of having some of those Head Start teachers join the Language Coalition as like an education representative. So so some of the Head Start teachers who were interested, that expressed interest at the training, asking them if they would like to sit on that board to see how they can help integrate it into the Head Start classrooms better. So I think hopefully this kind of, I don't know, sparked something under some people, but it's just super hard to, at least on my end, to try to facilitate discussions with people when we don't really know who the who the people are, like the Head Start site supervisors or the Language Coalition people. It's hard to facilitate those on our end, but sorry for that. Felt like kind of like a rant, but so let's see.
So Cree,
Objective of the Head Start teachers is to get 10 proficient enough in the language to pass a class. I don't think that the Head Start teachers are the ones who need to pass the Class 7. The Head Start teachers just need to be moderately proficient. There may be some overlap in that. So with that, I know, Sean had mentioned that he would like to start a informal class to where he goes to the Head Start teachers. He was thinking that maybe that like a college class is too structured for them, and I think he even felt motivated that there was interest from the teachers to where he wanted to start setting something up with them specifically to kind of catch them up and to get them where they needed to be at. But that was where another kind of thing came up with the Class 7, in that there is that's controlled by the tribe. And so he was talking about coming up with a language option for his American Indian Studies program or one of the early childhood programs. So we actually, last week, I set up a call between Sean and Dr. Michael Munson with the Salish Kootenai College. So the Salish Kootenai College has a Salish language educator program, and so in their program, it's a AA. It's a very intense AA to get credentialed in both like early childhood and language. And so we reviewed together. Her and Sean got a chance to kind of review both of what they had, and I know that SKC, Salish Kootenai College, even offered to provide those classes to Ani Nakota College, some of the non-language related classes, and to kind of, and the good thing about it is they are certified or accredited through the same state entity who accredits tribal colleges. So there is a partnership getting built there. So hopefully that'll kind of start to move some things along too, as far as like getting people certified or getting some kind of process going to get credentialed.
Cree, hopefully you're seeing what Mia has written about Mike Richardson and all of his work with Tribal Head Start. But I'm also wondering if we should move on to the next point in our agenda.
The only thing I'd add is Ani Nakota may also want to look at a current funding opportunity announcement that Head Start Region 11 is sent out about trying to get more Head Start teachers their basic early childhood development credentials. Just an additional funding stream Ani Nakota might want to pursue, but not necessarily related to native language instruction. But yeah, Mike Richardson, and I can, if you send me an email, I'll look up his information and I can shoot it to you. He's they've contracted with his company or his employer, and they provide state collaboration services, and that includes tribal. So to make sure that so he does a lot of on-site TA visits and has in the past. So he knows all the right Head Start directors that would be in charge of Ani Nakota's Head Start grant. It's concerning that they're in year 4 and they say the Head Start claims they are not partners, and that Ani Nakota hasn't done more to secure that partnership. And I understand that there's been turnover, but I don't know in their application if there was a letter of support and commitment from the Head Start as a partner. That could be the people that were probably on that may no longer be there, but it's something that they could be sharing with whoever the current leadership is, that there is a relationship and a commitment from the Head Start to be a partner in this project and really lay out what their role is supposed to be.
This is Jim. I think one takeaway that Cree and I got from that was that Head Starts engage when they want to be engaged, and when they don't want to be engaged, then they don't, because they may have conflicting things going on. There's no consistency in their engagement, and I sense the frustration with Sean and Sarah and folks. But the idea of was a good one. We hope that Sean will grasp onto, and that was to try to engage them some way, even if it's a teacher on the language board. That would be maybe a good start to sort of bridge that gap between the two entities.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just saying that I think it is important that whenever we have a lot of these calls, or when Cree is providing TA, that we make sure that we continue to frame things as like, this is a native language community coordination. It's not only focused on like our discrete, things happening at Anna Nakota. The funding was always designed as really how is Anna Nakota able to bring everyone together or lift everyone up to really coordinate native language. And so yeah, I mean, working with Head Start oftentimes is very difficult. I know that a lot of our other language projects also struggle with that. So hopefully Mike Richards can help with some of that, but we also have to, remind Anna and Nakota, like, when they took on this grant, they thought that they were a really strong part of the community and they could hopefully help bring people along. And so we just need to make sure that we keep framing it as like it's not just about like one specific little grant piece, right? Like that's one thing they're working on, but really it's the overall community coordination. So I think the language group is a good idea. That seems like that's a way in which you can bring people in, get each other on the same page. So hopefully that will happen. I like that suggestion. So I was hoping maybe, I guess we could get a report about Shunak and Yurok.
Maybe Cree, can you just give us an overview of how you're able to do these virtuals? It looks like you have sort of a week long with multiple meetings and different people at different meetings and different topics for those meetings. So could you give us sort of an overall how you're approaching this?
So,
Huh? Okay.
So what we're doing, can you hear me okay? So what we're doing is I usually have like an agenda that kind of is reflective of the form that I fill out. And so what I do is I kind of put the agenda in like a big list. And then what we started doing is guesstimating in 2-hour chunks, different parts of that agenda. And then, so we're doing like a morning session and an afternoon session, but it's over 3 to 4 days. So we're doing Shunaks right now, and we're doing theirs over a course of 4 days, and 2 hours in the morning and 1 hour in the afternoon. And so, for example, we're mid-Shunak right now. So yesterday we had a morning session, and I was able to join in on their staff meeting, and then I also presented it was kind of partial presentation, partial discussion on leveraging tribal resources. And then in the evening, I was able to join in on a community class that they were holding through Zoom. And then we kind of have little sections to just like sit down and specifically talk about like the OWP or like their evaluation, their indicators and stuff. So it's kind of like a mix. We just kind of portion it out into each day into smaller segments, just over more days. So it's not just taxing on anybody. So we're mid-Shunak, and then we are all scheduled up with UROC. So their times and their topics and all that have been identified, what kind of training that they want to receive. So I'm able to participate on some of their language institute that they'll be having over Zoom. So surprisingly, we're able to replicate a lot of what we are normally able to do.
That sounds great.
Thank you so much, Cree. We appreciate it. So moving on, it looks like there were some brochures that were sent out. Maybe Maria could talk to that.
Okay, just I need to tell it.
I know a couple months ago, this is Cree, that Jeannie had asked me to resend her all the brochures and flyers. She said she didn't fully realize that we were waiting on her, so I resent those, and I haven't heard back. And so I was just wanting to check in on that. I know so much of the brochures would be so helpful for a lot of our grantees, and I would really like to get those out for family and community outreach and partnership outreach and stuff.
These were the brochures they Cree did last year, and there were like 3 or 4 of them, I think. And I had some, I know I had some concerns, and I don't think I documented my concerns, but they were shared with the team at the time, and then I guess reshared with. Oh, I wanted to send them forward to our communications team, and we've had a lot of turnover here on our end with our communications folks. And so that was the other part of it. We wanted to make sure it was in line with the messaging that ANA was sharing as well. So you resent them in May, you said? Cree? There's activity going on in the chat box.
Sorry, I missed a lot of what. Yeah, I missed a lot of what was said, so I'm sorry. I'm not I'm not able to answer.
So did you resend them in May? And
I emailed.
was it just to Jeannie or others?
On a phone call, Jeannie had asked me to resend them to her because we were waiting. Mark told us that we were waiting for Jeannie to respond. So she said to resend them to her.
She
And that
just gets
sounds
so
like around
bombarded.
May. And
Okay. Can you resend those? I'm saying Jeannie just gets bombarded with so much, and we just, we haven't had a break here at all. So just sending them just to her without adding anyone else. We didn't know that it went to her. So, but if you CC us, we can follow up with you on that. So just include everyone on the ANA NLCC team as well. That way we can keep it on our radar screen that something still needs to get back to you. And I apologize. I know it's been a long time.
All right, sounds good. I think we can also just re-follow up about that via email if we need to. So moving on about the semi-annual meetings. So originally we were supposed to be in Oklahoma in March, visiting the Cherokee Nation in Tahlequah. Is the consideration now, are we thinking about doing virtual? And then how are we thinking about how to move forward in September, maybe at Anna Nakota? Would we postpone that?
Okay, so Brent, this is Maria, and I added here because one thing, according to our contract with ANA, we have to do 2 semi-annual meetings between October and September. And now that we're in June or halfway through June, we have about 3 months to do 2 semi-annual meetings. The one for that was for Oklahoma, is actually ready to go. We had that ready and up ready for printing and stuff, and then it was canceled, so we didn't get to get the hardcovers on it or get it printed and stuff. And Cree and Jim have been working on a plan for the last 2, for the one for Ani Nakota and then the one for Kiowa, on how we're going to roll out those topics and what's going to be presented and stuff. I think if we're going to do a virtual meeting, we need to decide sometime this week so we can get the stuff put together and we could let you guys know how we plan on doing it. Right now, I'm in the middle of planning a virtual convening for 45 people for another contract, and we're doing it similar to what the site visit that Cree is doing. We're having morning session, 2-hour morning session, 2-hour afternoon session, breaking it up. The grantees will be presenting on stuff, and we have things set aside, time set aside for them to present. So I thought we'd have something similar. And what we'll need to do is we'll really consider whether or not we, what platform we need to use for it. If we use this platform, we can break up into different rooms and have breakout rooms where people can work together, have work sessions and stuff. Or, but they would have to wear headsets. They couldn't have their speakers and their mic off the computer. As you notice, we've had a lot of echoing going on. We're having a lot of issues with bandwidth. So we have to be aware of that. Where Brandon from Vexing Media and Tom are looking at different other platforms that we can consider using that won't cost a lot of money, or if they do cost a lot of money, it's a one-time thing that is offset because we're not traveling. So those are the things that we're thinking about. And the spring 2021 in Kiowa, I think it just depends on how the pandemic goes. It's going to be the end of the 5th year come June of 2021, so we definitely have to have it before then. And we need to think about how it's, if we're going to do it in person, plan it one way, and if we're going to do it virtual, have a plan to do it the other way. So that way, we can pivot depending on what the country's like and how the virus is acting in communities. For all we know, Kiowa might not let anybody in their community at that time, just like they're doing now. So those are some things that we need to consider.
Well, I know based on the cohort call last week, no one wants to travel at this point. So I think we definitely need to plan a virtual something. It doesn't necessarily have to, in terms of and if I need to be on that contract call, whenever you're meeting with Mark, let me know. Because I don't want to designate this as the Cherokee visit when we still have funds and the grantees still have funds to travel. And if the contract needs to be adjusted, maybe that's something we need to consider in terms of your travel dollars, if there's a way it can get moved from this year into next year. So just like we're making accommodations and delays, like for our grantees, perhaps there's something adjustment we can do to the contract. I don't know. I'm not a core. I'm just throwing it out there. But I still want to potentially leave the option for a future visit if we're able to get the pandemic under control. I think they were more concerned with if there was a vaccine available, then they would feel more comfortable having visitors come in from the outside. That was what I took away from last week's call.
Okay, I took away the same thing too about that. Um, one thing I was thinking about as well is we have more time on our contract than the grantees have on their grant or the cooperative agreement. And I know you kind of mentioned probably having them think about moving into a year 6, I think it was. Is that correct? So if that's the case, we might consider having a final meeting in year 6, which will be a bit further along than what we're looking at now. But that's pretty much what I have in mind for my meeting. I was going to put together the plan and stuff to let you guys know that we're thinking about how we would do it, like putting together a convening in a box, which sends out all the materials and USB, everything that we would hand it out during the first convening that we were going to do this year. And then including like the gifts and stuff that we normally do and things that they can interact with while we're talking during or when we're doing discussions and having the interaction between everybody. Um, and I think that's pretty much it. Let's see, what's Mary says something.
Are there other, well, in the interest of time, I didn't know if anyone else from the team wanted to say anything about that.
I just think that we need a little bit more information, like what is allowed under general contracting rules with the government and things like that. And I think if Mark, if we have an internal discussion with him and kind of figure out what flexibilities are allowed, that might also guide some of our decision making. That's my thought. And then Mary mentions in the chat about possibly doing something virtual for Anna Nakota, and then wait and see if we do both Oklahoma ones at the same time. So that might be another possibility. So I think we should just get some more information. If we're going to move on, thinking about the agenda for next month.
If it's a virtual, would it be the same amount of days? It can be. Some days are going longer. Like I said, we're breaking it into morning. Probably having pre-workshop stuff so people can do work group stuff before they come to the convening and discuss things.
I'm having a harder time hearing you, Maria.
I was answering Jill's question about whether or not the virtual would be the same amount of days. And mostly it depends. We can probably make it for 3 days like we normally have it, and maybe have some pre-convening work groups that people are working on stuff together, and then they come into the convening and report out or discuss what they found and things like that. We'll just have a different format of how people can get together and do the work together in groups. Is that better?
Yeah, it's also a matter of timing because, you know, we're going to get the grant applications in as of July 1 for our first round, and we're starting the panel July the 13th through our first panel session. They're both 2 weeks long. The first one starts July the 13th, and then the next one is August the 3rd through the 14th. and then we're doing internal review in the middle, and then internal review after that. So we have like a lot on our plate until I'd say mid-September. So we could possibly do something. You guys have until October the 30th, right, to do something?
Yeah. September 30th.
September
We have
30th.
until September 30th, yes.
Okay. So your contract start date is October 1. Yeah. So I'm throwing that out to let you know our schedule. It's really kind of crazy. Because we pushed our FOA deadlines back, and our FOAs were already late, but then once the pandemic happened, people asked us to extend the deadlines, and we did. And so we would normally, in any given year, be done paneling right now, and we're not. We don't even have the applications yet, to give you a sense of how far behind we are. So, I would say, and even next week's call or the next month's call, July 14th, we're in the middle of panel review. But I think, for those who aren't on a panel call, we can still participate, but it might be a little dicey.
Okay.
But I don't want to change it because there's no other better date to change it to. At least it's the beginning of the session, and we're in week 1 of the session. Yes, we're going to have the cohort call during panel review.
So what else do we need to put on that agenda is the question.
Well, they're officially in year 5.
We should have we should have a finance update, Mary suggested, so we should put that on the agenda.
I briefly mentioned something related to that in last month's call about them getting their financial reports done as soon as possible so that they can work on carryovers. I know there was interest towards the end of the call because I started talking about intellectual property, and they definitely wanted to follow up on that. So that could be either as something we could do as part of a virtual convening, but I think I heard they were interested in getting maybe a template for what kind of contract language would be helpful for them to consider adding to their contract vehicles. Or do we want to identify a speaker who could give a little bit more information about their tribe's experience with intellectual property?
We can put that on the August agenda if you want, and then we can see what we can do about finding a speaker and maybe even making it a mini webinar or training.
I like the idea of a webinar so that it's something we can share out with our other grantees as well beyond NLCC.
you know if the other regions have had a webinar on intellectual property? No?
No, we just had consultation about it, and then we did have a workshop as part of the ANA grantee meeting in February. There was a lady from the Karuk tribe, Lisa Hillman, who has developed their own tribe's sort of framework for protecting their the tribe's intellectual property. As part of that workshop, I had someone from the NIH who sort of gave a definition of copyright and intellectual property and what and how it relates to federal funding. In that the intellectual property is retained by the recipient and not the government. But the problem is some of our grantees are using third parties to help them develop language resources, and so those third parties are retaining the intellectual property and not our grantees. So that's why we wanted them to put some provision in their contracts that they retain intellectual property. And so we had the NIH person, we had an ANA grantee who did not protect their intellectual property, and she talked about their bad experience. And then we came from a place of strength where we had Lisa Hillman talk about this tribe who has been proactive. So that was the workshop that we presented in February. And so I guess I can follow up and present the options that we came up with under tribal consultation that we were seeking feedback on from the as to which option ANA should consider pursuing in the future. And I've got to call in about 2 minutes somewhere else. But I think we want to also solicit input next month about other topics for a virtual, or you think you already have like the first one? Okay. Or maybe beyond the first one, maybe ideas of other things that they want in year 5.
Right. Okay.
It also sounds like we should add about the Head Start potentialing for like that might be some funding that we should highlight. I don't know when that is due, and that might be something where if they work with the Head Start, they could help them craft a they can craft a proposal that actually includes native language in it. It might actually be
It's due July 2nd, Brent. So by the time we have this call, it'll be closed.
Oh, okay. Then we should send that out ASAP.
Okay, it's 1 o'clock, so we go ahead and close the call.
I gotta go. So, thank you, everyone. I'll just exit.
Okay. I think we're done. Brent, are we done?
Yes, we can close up the meeting. Thank you all, everyone.
Okay. Bye.
Have a good day.
Bye.